Welcome to Temi Adi Academy. If you're new to sewing, you might be wondering, what tools do I actually need to get started? With so many options out there, selecting the right tools can feel overwhelming. But don't worry, in today's video, I'll walk you through 10 sewing tools every beginner must have. Let's get started. Our first sewing tool is our measuring tape. Why do we need a measuring tape? You need it to take your body measurements and also to measure your fabrics and to ensure accuracy when you're sewing. Ensure accuracy in your sewing projects. So you definitely need your measuring tape. Remember, your body measurement is the foundation of every sewing. So for you to be able to get your accurate body measurement, you need your measuring tape. The next tool we're going to be talking about is your sewing machine. Unless you plan on sewing with your hands, which I would not advise, you definitely need to get a good quality sewing machine. You can get one from Amazon, you can get one from Walmart, and also from your local fabric store. So definitely you need to get a good quality sewing machine. The next tool is your fabric scissors. Fabric scissors. You need to get a good quality fabric scissors. So you can get one from your local fabric store. You can get one from Amazon. I actually got this one from Amazon. You need to get one that can cut through any weight of fabric. So from lightweight to heavyweight fabric, you can get one. So good quality pair of scissors. The next tool is paper scissors. Paper scissors. Why do we need our paper scissors? So if you plan on drafting your patterned pieces or you plan on purchasing one from the local store, you definitely need to cut through those patterned pieces. You need to cut through. You need to cut those papers, right? So you need your paper scissors. You don't want to be cutting paper with your fabric scissors. Why? Because it's going to dull your fabric scissors. So if you use your fabric scissors to cut on paper, your fabric scissors is going to get dull quickly. After you've spent money purchasing a good quality fabric scissors, you don't want your scissors to get dulled quickly. So it's advisable you have a separate scissors, separate pair of scissors to be able to cut through paper. So that's why you need your paper scissors. The next tool is your seam ripper. Definitely, as a beginner, you're going to make a lot of mistakes while sewing. So you need a seam ripper to be able to take out those stitches. So how do you use your seam ripper? Quickly. So let's say this is the material or the garment you're sewing and you made a mistake and you want to take out the stitch. You just take your seam ripper through and you rip it. Take your seam ripper through, rip it. Take your seam ripper through and rip it, and then you just take out your entire stitch. Take out the entire stitch. Using a seam ripper would help you avoid damaging your fabric, so you'll be able to rip out the seam easily without damaging your fabric. So that's why you need a seam ripper. The next tool I want to talk about is your pin and pin cushions. So you need to get your pins. You need pins to pin down your sewing project. So when you want to cut your fabric out from your pattern pieces, you need to be able to pin it down. While you're sewing, you need to be able to pin down your fabric or your garment so it doesn't move while you're sewing. And then you need your pin cushion. So as you take out your pins from your garment while you're sewing, you can easily put it into your pin cushion. This would make your sewing really easy and quick, and also makes your cutting. So when you're cutting your garment from your pattern piece, it makes everything really easy and quick. So having your pins and your pin cushion, it's a must. These two tools are a must for beginners. The next tool I want to talk about is your hand sewing needles. Why do we need this when we are using our sewing machines? So for example, if you want to sew in your buttons and let's say your sewing machine doesn't come equipped with the ability, doesn't have the capacity to sew in a button, you definitely need your hand sewing needles to be able to sew in your buttons to your garment. And also sometimes you may want to sew in a blind hem stitch to your skirt, to the hem of your skirt or the hem of your pant. you may also need to utilize your hand sewing needles. So this is a tool that you definitely need to have on hand just in case any of these occasions arise. The next tool is your sewing machine needle. The sewing machine needles. So usually the sewing machine you purchase comes with its own needles. But as a beginner learning to use the sewing machine, there's a high tendency that you're going to break your needles quickly. So you definitely need to have a backup. So in case you run out of the needles that come with your sewing machine, you definitely need to have a backup. So you can get universal sewing machine needles. This particular one works for most sewing projects. It works for most sewing projects. So if for some reason you want to sew like a special fabric, like denim, stretch fabric, or delicate materials, then you will need to buy a separate type of needle. So there are needles specifically for denim. So you may need to purchase that type of needle. So definitely you need your sewing machine needles to match the fabric that you're going to be working on. The next tools we're talking about is your thread, your sewing machine threads. Definitely you can't sew anything without your threads. So make sure you have your threads, polyester or cotton threads, matching the color of the thread should match the color of your fabric. Unless you're going for a particular type of design, then you can use a different color of thread. But just make sure that you're using either polyester or 100% polyester or 100% cotton, good quality thread. Make sure you're using a good quality thread to sew for your sewing projects. The next sewing tools I'm going to talk about are your marking pens, pencil, and chalk. So you need these tools to be able to mark on your fabric. So while you're sewing, especially as a beginner, if you want to mark in your seam allowances, you need to be able to mark in your seam allowances. So let's say this is your fabric, right? And you want to mark in like 1-inch seam allowance. You take your tape, you want to mark in 1-inch seam allowance. You use your marker to mark it, right? Or you use your chalk. I don't think this is going to show. Okay, or you use your chalk to mark it, right? So you need your marking chalk, marking pencils, and your markers, your marking pen. Definitely, as a beginner, you definitely need these tools to aid your sewing. So you mark on your fabric before you sew, while sewing, and while sewing, you definitely need definitely need these tools. Even when you're cutting as well, if you need to quickly draw something on your fabric, you can do that as well with your marking pens. And with this marker, it can fade away. If you just pour water on it, water fades it away. Or air, if I leave this for a few days, it's going to fade away on its own. Air just fades it away. So you need these tools as a beginner. The next tool you need is your ruler. You need your ruler, preferably a see-through ruler. You don't want to use metallic ruler. I would advise that you get a see-through ruler, especially if you plan on drafting your pattern pieces, then you need a see-through ruler. And even if for some reason you cannot find your measuring tape and you need to mark in a seam allowance, you can get your ruler quickly and mark it. You can use your ruler as a guide. And while you're drafting, we use our ruler to draw in our straight lines. We use our French curve to draw in our curves. So you need these two tools the French curve mainly for drafting, but you can also use your ruler for sewing and drafting as well. And some bonus tools I'm going to be talking about are, first of all, your iron. You need good quality steam iron. You can get one from anywhere you get your home appliances. Just make sure it's a good quality steam iron. You know, in sewing, there's a lot of ironing involved. Every step involves you ironing or pressing. So you definitely need to get good quality iron, and also buy your ironing board. You don't want to be ironing or pressing on your bed. You need your ironing board. So make sure you invest in those two tools as well as a beginner. And even if you're not a beginner and you've been sewing for a while without using iron, I don't know how you've been getting away with it, or using your ironing board, just make sure you invest in those two tools. And the final tool I want to talk about is your zipper foot. Your zipper foot. As a beginner, sewing in zippers can be challenging. It can be challenging, and any tool that can make this process easy, you need to get it. So usually your sewing machine is supposed to come with your zipper foot. But if for some reason it doesn't come with your zipper foot, you can go into your local fabric store, let them know the model of your sewing machine, and tell them that you're looking for a zipper foot, and they should be able to provide one for you or direct you to the right store to get one. And one tip I would give you, for if you've not yet purchased your sewing machine and you're purchasing it online, check the description to make sure that a zipper foot is included as part of the tools that come with the machine. Make sure the zipper foot is included, because having this, trust me, would make your sewing process really, really easy. So there you have it. I've spoken about 10 sewing tools plus 3 bonus tools every beginner must have. Let me know which of these tools you already own. You can drop this in the comment section below. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of my beginner-friendly sewing tutorials. Thanks for watching, and happy sewing.